Backfire, what are y'all doing? I don't think I've ever been this excited to talk about a skateboard like I am right now, to talk about this Backfire G3. It's so much to talk about. I'm breaking it down into categories. What we're talking about in the categories: the deck, the trucks, wheels, battery and remote, power, torque, and turbo, range, comfort. I'll give you my final thoughts as well, and I have a special message for Backfire. Let's get into this. The first thing that I want to talk about is this deck. Guys, I'm telling you, I'm a 225-pound rider, and if you follow me on this channel, if you've seen any of my other videos, you know that I am a person that was really someone that leaned toward stiff decks. And it was because I was so afraid that if I was to get aboard with a flexi deck, that the enclosures would be hitting the ground, that it would just be a problematic issue. And what I'm telling you guys is that Backfire did something when they created this deck right here. This deck has the perfect amount of flex. And I'm not exaggerating, the perfect amount of flex, because while I'm riding, I'm going over bumps, it's swaying, and it's just eating up the cracks. It's just eating up the imperfections in the road. And the crazy thing about it is, not only is it doing that, but when I was accelerating and picking up speed and was riding hard, I felt stable. Like at no point did I feel like, oh my goodness, I'm on a flexi deck and I'm going so fast. And that's one of the complaints that you see people have about flexi decks, is that they're very comfortable, but when it comes to riding in at top speeds, it could be problematic. And I'm telling you guys, Backfire did it when they came up with this deck. I mean, it's rigid enough and flexible enough to handle somebody that's my weight, and I know it's excellent for people that are even lighter than me. And just based on what I'm feeling about this deck, you know, it's a composite of bamboo and some fiberglass. Even somebody that's a little bit heavier than me, I think that they can ride this board comfortably. Backfire, man, I'm loving the deck. I'm feeling the deck. Trucks, Backfire with the G3 continue to go with the caliber trucks, but unlike the G2T, which only had one caliber truck on it, the Backfire G3 has a caliber truck in the front and the back. And Caliber has an excellent reputation for being a great truck. And I'm here to tell you is that this thing, riding on this thing with both caliber trucks in the rear and the front, is like butter. I'm carving on this board, I'm leaning hard, and it's taking it so well, but then also the response back to center is just amazing. That, like at the very beginning of the ride, when I first got on the board, the crazy thing is, the very first ride of me on this board was during a group ride. And I remember I did this really sharp turn on the board, and it took it. I didn't lean or fall off, and I was able to stay balanced on there and just accelerate. And I'm just like, I haven't experienced anything like that as far as the maneuverability, how well it handles, how I'm carving on the board, but then the stability that I still felt when I was topping out at high speeds. And I didn't even tighten the trucks or anything like that. I jumped on there and I just rode out. So I'm really loving the trucks on the G3 as well. Very impressed with how they're looking and how they work. Excellent. Remote. If you've watched any of my previous videos, you know that the Backfire remote is one of my favorite remotes. It's so ergonomic in your hand. And I love the fact that it has that hole where you can put your finger in there, and it allows you to get a great grip and a great purchase on the remote, and I love it. The other thing that's like so cool about the remote is that the other day I was riding and it was so cold, and I had gloves on, I couldn't put my finger in here, but that little curve that they have here, I was able to rest my finger there and continue to accelerate, throttle, and brake, and it was just amazing. So of course the remote has that screen on there so you can see different things going on with the board. How fast you're traveling, how many miles or what you've traveled during this particular ride, and it also has an odometer as well, so that you know how much you've traveled in the life of the board as well. Just a great remote. And on the remote, you can access the different speeds. You have eco mode, standard mode, and then of course you have the turbo mode, which you activate by hitting the turbo button. And I'm going to talk about that turbo much more in depth in the video because it deserves a significant amount of time, that turbo. So I love this remote. It also has like a matte finish on it. The scroll wheel has just enough tension when you're accelerating and braking. Very smooth. One of my favorite remotes right there. Love the remote for the Backfires. Absolutely just love them. Range. This was probably one of the things that shocked me the most about this board. And as someone who is generally considered to be a heavier rider, you know that range is always something that you're thinking about. And with the Backfire G3 series, they went with some 2100 cells, which is actually a little bit larger than some of the other cells that other manufacturers are using in their boards. And I heard that with Backfire and some of their marketing, and to be honest about it, I'm a skeptical person. And I was like, okay, they put these batteries in here. Is this a marketing gimmick? What does Backfire have going on? And I'm here to tell you that it was not marketing gimmicks. It was not a ploy. The range on this board is absolutely amazing. And not only is the range amazing, because the very first ride that I did, it was a group ride. And when we do our group rides, we're not cruising on the trail just chilling and having fun. At times we're hitting a top speed and we're riding pretty rigorously for long periods of time, for miles at a time. And when I tell you that I think I got about 13 miles on this board going full speed, hitting turbo, topping out in standard mode, going up hills. I mean, I was just shocked at how much range I was getting. But then not only the range was crazy, the battery sag was amazing. I literally was still getting in the 20s miles per hour, and I had like 16% left in the battery. And I'm like, what is going on here? Like, I'm riding and I'm looking like, I can't believe I can still go. Not only am I going so far, but I can still go at a decent speed even though the battery is so low. And that was really a game changer to me, because when I was on this group ride, just being 100% transparent, a lot of times when I'm riding in group rides, I have to nurse my throttle, because when you accelerate real hard, you eat up a little bit more battery. And just as a heavier rider in a group ride with riding in hills in Atlanta and different things like that, I have to just be, I have range anxiety, because I'm riding and I'm like, okay, I don't want to hit the throttle too hard because I don't want to run out of power, and I don't want to be the guy that we got to stop our ride and charge up because my battery didn't ran out. That was not a problem with this G3. When I tell you that we had to stop, and this is not no shots, it's not no shots, I think it's just commonly known, we had to stop because some of the guys in the group with those boosties, they needed a break. They needed a break. So we pull over and we stop charging up the boards, and I look at my remote, I'm still on like 65%. I was like, what? They're out of power, basically. They on 5-10%. And here I am in the 60s. Man, the range was just amazing. And it's not anything that like you can make up. And it's like the feeling of not having range anxiety anymore. Like, you don't even know what that feels like. To not even have to worry about, I'm riding, I'm going to be the guy in the group holding us up because I'm running out of power. Dude, the range was amazing. And like I said, the battery sag was like really non-existent. I literally was down to like 10-15% before the board started to let me know, hey, you about to run out of some juice here. So the range, man, I'm telling you, the range, torque and power, guys, I'm telling you, I'm almost like lost for words talking about this, because like I said, I unboxed the Backfire and I immediately went on a group ride. And when I'm telling you, I got on the board and I was really wondering what was it going to be like on this Backfire, because I have the Backfire G2T and it's a solid board, but there's some areas that it just needed a little bit of improvement in the strength and the torque. And I'm here to tell you, Backfire either listened to their customers or did something. The torque and the power on this board is excellent. Excellent, guys. And not only was it we were riding, I was not only keeping up, but there was times where I was riding and I'm going and I look around and I'm by myself and I look behind me and there's people behind me. I'm like, oh shoot, let me slow up so that we can stay in a group, but then also so I can get some footage of riding with the guys. So the speed, the torque, the acceleration was amazing. I think the greatest test that really shows how well this board did, we went to this abandoned parking deck. This a spiral. It's like 10 floors. And I literally went up this spiral from at the very bottom at a complete stop, went up and had it in turbo mode. And I had so much torque and power going up this hill that there was times I had to come off of the throttle while going up this 8-story parking garage. There was a couple times I was passing people going up this thing. And that was something that I had never experienced before, being able to go up and power up a hill. And not only power up the hill, but at times needing to come off the throttle because the board was just like, what you want, I got it. Literally, the board was like, what you want, man? And I'm going up and I'm just like shocked that I'm able to go up this thing with such power. And some people might say, look, were you just riding it in turbo mode and you felt that way? Nah. Most of the ride, I would say 70% of the ride, I was actually in the standard mode. And it had more than enough power and acceleration and torque. Just very impressive. But there were times I had to see what it do. And I had to turn on the turbo. You know, I had to go at the spiral staircase and let them know what it was. There was one time we were going up a pretty steep incline too, just riding. I hit the turbo button and it was just impressive. So from a guy that's 225 pounds, and you may be wondering, what is a board out there for me that I can use that I can get some good speed, some good acceleration, some torque, and I can honestly and transparently say the G3 is definitely something you should be looking at if you're wanting that. So power, acceleration, and torque, outstanding. I don't think I did a top speed test on the board, but I will tell you, as you can see in the video, we weren't riding slow. I mean, I think one time I looked down and I was doing like 24 miles an hour and I wasn't even fully throttling it. And I also wasn't even, I don't even think I was in turbo mode. I was like doing like 23 miles an hour, 24 or something like that. So the power, acceleration, and torque, very impressive. A huge improvement over the Backfire G2T. Just a massive improvement. Wheels. This is a hub motor board. And to be honest about it, I love belt driven boards. I love them. With belt drive boards, you can put 4 real wheels on there, and as a result, you have options. You can switch up the wheels. You can change the durometer. You can change the color. You can change the size of the wheels. You can put all-terrain wheels on there. So there's a lot of benefits when you talk about belt-driven boards. The Backfire G3 uses hubs, but I'm here to tell you that this board rides like a belt-driven board. And some of y'all would say, bruh, let me explain. Feel me. The Backfire G3 and also the G2T, they use 96 millimeter wheels, I believe. And these wheels are large, I mean huge. And when you look at on the back wheel, one of the things that makes a hub-driven board the ride not as smooth sometimes as a belt-driven board is that the back wheels, because it's a hub motor, you have polyurethane wrapped around the hub motor. And some companies use a very thin polyurethane. So what that means is that every time you hit a bump, you feel it. Every time you hit like a big crack, you feel the back of the board shaking. Backfire uses some very thick polyurethane on their back wheels. So literally, I would say that this board rides almost like a belt-driven board. It's smooth. It's comfortable. You don't feel any herky-jerkiness when you go over bumps. You feel incredibly stable. And one of the things I've always liked about Backfire boards, even with the G2T, is that I don't know what company manufactures their wheels. I don't even know what the durometer is of the wheels. But I will say that Backfire is doing something right with whoever they're using to create their wheels and put them together, because the wheels they just feel really good. They feel like a really high quality wheel, and the ride is just incredibly comfortable. And when you pair that with the fact that you have this deck, this flexi, when you pair that with the fact that you got these shock absorption pads, when you pair that with the fact that they're using the Hobby Wing ESC, which is so silky smooth, but not only is it silky smooth, but then it's not dull and boring. It's smooth, but this board moves when you tell it to move. I mean, all of these things combined make for a ridiculously smooth ride. And I would say that it rivals or maybe even exceeds the ride of some belt-driven boards. I mean, it's really impressive. And it's one of the reasons I was so excited to talk about this video. And even though I'm kind of recovering from a cold, I just had to get the video out because I wanted to talk about it, and I wanted you guys to just really feel the energy that I have about the board, because I think that that's really solid. So the wheels on the board, really good wheels, very comfortable ride. And this leads to the overall comfort of the board. As I alluded to a little bit earlier, all of these different things that I talked about, they come together. It's almost like the Avengers or something, right? You got this Avenger, you got him, Iron Man, Hulk, Thor, this, him. But when you put them all together, you got something going on. And Backfire did the exact same thing. Nice wheels, good durometer, nice size, smooth ESC, smooth braking, shock absorption pads, flexible deck, nice grip tape. Then they got the contour of the deck. All of these things are just, they come together and they make for like an incredibly comfortable ride. Like your feet don't get tired. And the crazy thing is, guys, when I was doing the group ride, I let about 7 or 8 of the guys ride my board. And all of them, when they pulled up, they said, my goodness, that's a smooth riding board. This board is fun. Wow, that board is really dope. This board don't ride like a hub motor board. This is what they were saying. Like, I mean, the proof is in the pudding. Like, they said it because sometimes when you get a board, you're like, am I just super excited I have a board? Am I really accurate about what I'm feeling? But when they were riding it, they're confirming every single thing that I was saying about how smooth it was, how well it carves, the acceleration, all of this stuff. So this thing got a super comfortable ride. I mean, just ridiculously comfortable. Now I want to talk about my nitpicks. I praised this board. I've talked about all the things I love about this board. And really, to be honest about it, there is very little that needs to be changed on this board. You know, I let my wife ride the board. She rolled back over to me and she was like, whoa. She literally, and I mean, is she not into these boards like me? But my one nitpick, and a couple of other reviewers have said this, well, maybe one, I think only one. I wish the brakes were a little bit stronger. A little bit stronger. Like, I would say that this would be the perfect board. Because, I mean, from an all-around perspective, it does everything well. Backfire did almost everything that you can do right. They did it right. But the one nitpick that I have about this board is the fact that I wish the brakes were a little bit stronger. If the brakes were a tad bit stronger, I would say if the brakes were about 10% stronger, I would say that this is like the perfect board. And really, that's my only gripe. And I think it stands out to me because I've ridden a lot of different boards. You know, when you're in groups and stuff like that, we always are trying each other's boards, jumping on each other's boards, trying it out. Let me ride it for a mile or two, so on and so forth. And I've had a chance to get on a lot of different boards. And while the brakes on the Backfire are not bad, they're not bad at all. On a scale of a 1 to 10, I would say they're like an 8, 8.5. But if they was able to increase that braking pressure by maybe like 10%, man, I think that, I mean, it would just be off the chain. But nevertheless, I still think that it is an incredibly good board. And really, I would say that I feel like that's the only thing that can be improved about this board is just increase the breaking strength a little bit. But other than that, I mean, I think it's a pretty solid board. And I would say that this leads me into my final thoughts. We have a saying in the African American community, and if somebody is cooking a good dish or they cook something and it was so good, we say they put their foot in it. So like, let's just say somebody cooked a dish and it was great tasting, we'd be like, ooh, she put her foot in that dish. And that means that she cooked it well. And I gotta say, Backfire, y'all put y'all foot in this skateboard right here. This thing has so many positives going for it. I've talked about the range. You know, how I'm able to get the range even at the weight that I am, which I'm considered to be a heavier rider. I talked about the comfort of this ride, how smooth it is, how the wheels are. I've talked about how smooth the ESC is, the concave of the deck, how it's got like the perfect flex, the sails that they're using. Another thing I kind of left off that I think is so cool about the board, is the lights underneath the board. I'm a lights guy. I got shred lights on all of my boards. I love to light up the scene. And I think that it was so cool that Backfire threw that in there. Because a lot of people put lights on their boards, and when you throw, the lights are standard on there. That's amazing. And then you can turn the lights on if you want them on. And then of course, when you activate turbo, the lights turn on and they flash very fast. So it gives you like the coolest look ever when you rolling around. And if you pair that with your shred lights or whatever other lights you have going on, it just looks so clean. It just looks so cool. Then, you know, Backfire, they threw in the charge ports at the bottom, where not only can you charge the board, of course, but if you need to charge a remote or a cell phone. I feel like they threw in a lot of extras to kind of give the board an edge in some areas over other board companies. I would say overall, if you're somebody that's looking for a board and you want some flex, but you're afraid, I don't want to get a deck that's too flexy. The other thing is you may be looking for a board, and most guys that ride, we all have range anxiety. When we're riding, we're always like, I don't want to be the guy to make us have to stop our ride because I'm running low on power, or you don't want to be in the middle of the streets riding and you can't accelerate because you've eaten through 50% of the battery. You don't have those issues with this board. And I would say I'm very, very impressed with what Backfire put together here. You know, it makes me want to see what is the G3 Plus? What is it working with? You know, even the Backfire Ranger. It really makes you want to know, what do those boards have going for them? Overall, like I said, Backfire put their foot in this board. Very, very impressed with the G3. Finally, I wanted to give a message to Backfire. I want to thank them for stepping up to the plate. A couple of months ago, I did a video and basically said, where are the heavier e-skate reviewers? You can go check it out. Put it on my YouTube. And I said, why is it that all of the reviewers that do reviews on these boards, oh, I'm 150. Oh, I'm 160. A lot of times, even when they do the specs on these boards, ridden by a rider 150 pounds, soaking wet, with the wind going in their favor. And it's like, when you're a heavier rider, you don't know how this board is going to perform for you, because everybody who tested it, they're 160, 170, and they're all the reviewers, oh, I'm 180, I'm 150, I'm 170. So when you get in the 200, 220, 225, 230, 240, you're like, how is this board going to perform on me? And Backfire sent me the board for the review. And I'm here to tell you, very impressed with this board. Anybody that is around my weight, probably even, I would say 20, 30 pounds heavier, I think that this is definitely a board that you can ride and you will be happy with your purchase. So I wanted to thank you, Backfire, specifically for stepping up to the plate and taking on the challenge, because they didn't have to do that. I had another company reach out to me, a very big company. We communicated and everything, and they were supposed to send me a board, and then they hit me up and said, nah, we can't do it. So I appreciate Backfire for sticking to their word and accepting the challenge. Like I said, I love the board. If you're looking for a board that's got some good quality, Backfire is known for having pretty good customer service as well. I think you'll be pleased with the Backfire G3. As always, I see you at the top because the bottom is too crowded. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Holler at me. I'm about to get back on this board, man. Let's get to it.